Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, and by popular request, a system video. We very rarely do systems videos, and it seems whenever we do, we often go into Storypath Ultra. This is another Storypath Ultra system video. Why? Well, it is by popular request. Usually when I make videos now, it is by a single person's request. One person buys a hard copy of The World Below, or one person buys a hard copy of Monster Kingdoms. If you do either of those things and message me through MatthewDawkins.com, you can request a video, of course. But this request came in through quite a lot of people after the Monster Kingdoms crowdfunding campaign went live last week. Now, the Monster Kingdoms RPG, which I've spoken about at length on this YouTube channel, is currently funding. We're at about 200% of our funding target as of time of recording, which is fantastic. It is a fantasy game where evil won and you play the monsters. I have compared it frequently to playing Sabbat in a fantasy setting. If these kind of themes appeal to you, please do click on the link, the first link you see in the video description below, and join in on the campaign. But lots of people have asked me, what system does Monster Kingdoms use? Well, it uses the Storypath Ultra system, and the Storypath Ultra system is a D10 dice pool system in which 8s and above are hits. What does that mean? Well, let's say my character is trying to disarm a trap, for example. This character might roll their larceny skill plus their dexterity skill. So let's say they've got 3 in larceny and 2 in dexterity. That means they're going to roll 5 dice. Every one of those dice that comes up as an 8, 9, 10 will be a hit. But 10s count as 2 hits. Therefore, with our dice pool of 5, let's assume we roll a 1, 1, 8, 9, 10. That's actually a pretty good roll. So we can immediately ignore the 1s. The 8 is 1 hit. The 9 is 1 hit. The 10 is 2 hits. That means we get 4 hits on our roll. So what about the difficulty? Well, the story guide, the person running, would have assigned this trap a difficulty before the roll. Let's say it's a really intricate trap. There's tripwires all over the place. The slightest fumble might make it explode. So let's say this is a difficulty 3 trap to disarm. Luckily, we were able to get 4 hits, which means not only do we disarm the trap, boop, we also have 1 hit remaining. Now, this is the part of Storypath Ultra I really like, and the one I really want to sell to people. There's no such thing as a wasted hit in Storypath Ultra. There's no such thing as a wasted success. What do I mean by that? Well, in various RPGs, especially dice pool RPGs, you might have something like, well, your difficulty, you only need to get an 8 or above. And if you manage to get 5 8s or above, you get an exceptional success, a spectacular success, a critical success. So let's say we're rolling a dice pool of 7, and we manage to get 3 successes in that dice pool. This is using a different system. Well, because we beat the difficulty, congratulations, we succeed at the task, but because we don't get the 5 we need, well, 2 of those successes are wasted. That never happens in Storypath Ultra. Every single hit that you achieve can be used for something. So, at a basic level, the book provides you with all kinds of tricks you can spend these additional hits on. So what that might mean is if you're using an investigation action to disarm this trap, you might use that investigation action to pick up a clue. You might use that additional hit to find a clue about who might have set this trap. You might use this extra hit to learn how to make this trap yourself. You might use this additional hit to disarm it while you pass it, but rearm it as you have gone by. Now, the more hits you achieve, the more things you can do. And as I say, the book, Monster Kingdoms, gives you loads of tricks that you can spend your hits on. And what's more, Because, and again, another thing by popular demand, I'm aware that through the other Storypath Ultra games we've released at Onyx Path Publishing, some people, a lot of people in fact, have said, I love the tricks, but we've got combat tricks here, we've got investigation tricks there, we've got influence tricks here, we've got crafting tricks there, they're all over the place. So in Monster Kingdoms, all of the tricks, while being published in their usual places, are then consolidated and published in one big block in the appendix at the back of the book. So you can easily find every single trick available to you. It makes for a nice, easy cheat sheet you can print out for your players so that when they roll and they get more hits than they need, they can very easily navigate through this list of tricks and say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that. Sometimes tricks are things that you will improvise, you'll come up with narratively. So for example, things like clues, that is part of the book. But doing things like rearming a trap after disarming it, that's something I came up with like that. And that's absolutely something you can do. Other things you can do, for example, with your additional hits, you can bank them essentially as an enhancement to a future action. Now, enhancements, whether they come from using a specialized kind of weapon, the right kind of tool, or simply being an expert in a field, what they are automatic hits, but they only apply if you roll hits. So let's go back. Let's say we're making an action. We've got a dice pool of 5 again. And let's say this time we don't score any hits at all. Even if we have the enhancement, that does nothing. It's not going to count as an automatic hit unless we manage to get 1 or more hits on our dice roll, at which point an additional 1 gets added. Again, you might think, well, what's the point in getting an automatic hit if we've already succeeded? Again, every hit can be used for something extra. This is particularly important in combat in Storypath Ultra systems because tricks can be used for things like critical hits, disarming the opponent, sundering their weapon, tripping them up, grappling them, throwing them, all kinds of things. There's lots of combat tricks available in the game, but there's also investigation tricks, such as picking up clues, as I mentioned, influence tricks, things you can wheedle out of people in social situations. I mentioned crafting tricks as well. There are tricks associated with the crowns your characters can earn through slaying mighty beasts, and so on. There are lots and lots of tricks available in the book, but they are also available for you to come up with ideas as you play. I sometimes say that the opposite of enhancements are complications. So let's keep using this trap example, for example. Our monsters have been sneaking through a dungeon. You came across this trap that would have caved in the tunnel upon your head if you had set it off. You disarmed it, congratulations. Now, let's say it had that difficulty of 3 to disarm, and it had a moderate complication attached. So complications come in minor, moderate, and major. Each one is a certain number of hits. You could disarm the trap, get your 3 hits, but if you didn't have another 2 hits, that complication would still be there. You can nullify complications with enhancements. But let's say you had no enhancements in this case. You weren't using the right tools. You were using your own hands to disarm this trap. What does it mean to succeed with a complication? Otherwise sometimes known as succeed with consequences. It means that narratively something will happen that will complicate your lives, usually to make the story more interesting. That's the whole point of complications. So an example I could think of here is, congratulations, you've disarmed this trap briefly. Now you and the rest of your party need to run away from it because that complication will trigger the collapse of the tunnel, but it won't hit you. All it will do is cut off that exit from the dungeon. Now you've got to find another way out. So you succeed with a complication. If you manage to get not only the 3 that you need to disarm the trap, but another 2 hits, so let's say you get 5 hits on your roll, congratulations, you can succeed and eliminate the complications. That is a total success by any measure. But sometimes you might want to leave the complications because it makes the story more interesting, and you could use those hits that you would have spent on complications on other things, like learning how to build a trap like this yourself, or indeed learning how to time it so that the next time someone comes upon something like this, instead of it being triggered by someone tripping over it, it could be by proximity, or it might set off for 10 minutes after being built. That kind of thing. So that, at a basic level, in 10 minutes time, is the Storypath Ultra system. It's a D10 dice pool system. You've got your skills and attributes. That's what forms your pool. You're looking for 8s, 9s, and 10s. 10s count as 2 hits. 8s and 9s count as 1 hit each. Hits can be used to buy off difficulty, but also can be used to purchase tricks. If you have enhancements from the right tools, from the right weapons, from expertise, for example, or just being in an advantageous position, that is an automatic hit as long as you have rolled at least 1 hit. And complications are narrative consequences that won't necessarily injure you, though certainly they can do, but won't see you fail. It will just increase the depth of the story. That is the basic level of Storypath Ultra. That is how you play Monster Kingdoms. I hope that this video has been helpful. If you've got any questions whatsoever about any of the systems that we use at Onyx Path Publishing, especially Storypath Ultra, or any of the nuances of Monster Kingdoms, please do ask me in the comments below. You never know what might spur me to create a video. This one was, as I say, by popular demand, but I'm always interested in other people's ideas. If you come up with a good video idea, I will create that video with any luck. And again, if the game of Monster Kingdoms is appealing to you, please do check it out. It is on BackerKit right now, I mentioned, but as of time of recording, we are at 200% of the funding target, or thereabouts, and doing very, very nicely. We have already hit stretch goals, and we keep going. I would love to see this game receive even more support, so please do help out, and if you order a hard copy, contact me through MatthewDawkins.com and request a video of your choice. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.